So when we attempt to manifest in other people's lives, a lot of times it turns out to be very negative. I remember a friend of mine, she was dating a guy, but they weren't really serious. They weren't even intimate, but he was a friend and he wanted to date her. And he was very good to her, treated her well, brought her out, took her to dinners and all these wonderful things, all of the things that women always go on about that they want. And she was just like, well, he's always going to be a friend. So there was a friend of hers who was having a lot of down luck when it comes to attracting very decent men in her life. She didn't have a positive outcome. Every man that she dated was somehow using her or somehow treating her poorly or sometimes even being emotionally or physically abusive to her. So my friend thought it was because she was such a good manifester at bringing these positive and beautiful men into her space, even if they weren't the mate for her, that she would take her manifestation of this beautiful friendship that she formed with this one man who was treating her really well and attempt to give it to her friend. Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah. I am an author, a professor, and of course, a master manifester. Manifesting the life I choose is all I know because being on default, well, that's just no good. I get excited. I got excited about this topic today that I want to discuss, how being a master manifester can be a dangerous tool sometimes. I think that we're always so caught up on manifesting the things that we choose, manifesting what we want, manifesting the lifestyle we want, manifesting the people that we want. And sometimes if we get too hyper-focused, we start to try to see our manifestations play out in only one specific way. And the dangerous part about that is because when you become really good at manifesting in general, like creating environments and spaces and energy like you would choose for your life. You know, it's more than just going out there and buying things. We know anybody can just buy things, although those are a type of manifestation. But when I think of manifestation, I mean like an overall satisfaction and pleasure in the activities and the lifestyle that you're creating, right? So the reason why I believe that there can be that master manifesting is a dangerous tool is for several reasons, right? One of the biggest ones is that you become susceptible to both good and bad manifestations. So when you get really good and you get really clear and you're really focused, you've been meditating regularly, you've been clearing your energetic space, you've been being around the right people in the right environments, you've been eating well, you've been thinking and reading and bringing in good things and positive energy into your life. And you find that, oh, I just thought about a coffee. Then somebody called and said, hey, I'm stopping at, the coffee shop. Would you like, me to pick you up something? And you see that these things are happening really easily for you, right? When you're not really just thinking about it. Normally, when you direct your attention in another space, the other thing that you focused on to manifest is being created because you're not focused in that direction. So the reason why you can be susceptible to both bad and good, I don't really like to think of manifestations as bad or good because in process, a lot of things can seem bad that eventually turn out to be something that people will call good, right? So it's not really good or bad, but for the purposes of this, I'll just say things that are unpleasurable, unsatisfactory, things that make us feel bad, things that do not feel like they fit in our time and space in life and what we're trying to manifest for ourselves. And I think the reason why this happened is because we get way too good at manifesting. So like we see a particular guy and we want that guy to be our boyfriend, right? And the universe can bring that to you. You can manifest him in your space. But at the end of the day, are you manifesting him because he fits into the positive, energetic space that you're creating in your life? Or are you trying to manifest him because you have this idea of who that person is and you just want that person, right? So it's like I talk about that with a soulmate. Like when you're manifesting a mate, you don't just particularly focus on one person because that manifestation of the perfect soulmate or the perfect match for you for any given time in your life can be someone that you've never even seen before, someone that you didn't even consider a possibility, right? So I feel like when you become a master manifester, it can be a dangerous tool because you become really susceptible to creating whatever it is you want, even if those things might not be the best for you, because you've gotten too laser focused and you've gotten too specific about how you want it to play out, right? Another reason is that you get things in a way that's not always pretty or fun. So this goes along with what people might call good or bad. So you start receiving things as a master manifester, and it can be very tricky. It can be very dangerous because you see yourself as saying, okay, say you like, oh, I really want this particular type of soulmate, this particular type of person I want in my life, or a vehicle, or a job, or whatever it is you're looking for, right? And you take your hands off the wheel and you're just like, okay, I am doing what needs to be done. I'm clearing my space. I'm thinking about it positively. I'm scripting, I'm meditating, all these positive things. I'm even taking really, what is it called? Inspired action towards this goal, right? And then something shows up that's like completely opposite and contradictory. And the thing about it is, as a master manifester, it can be really dangerous because you start to think that because it doesn't look the way you want it to yet, it is a negative manifestation. But what it really is that your manifestation and your power is really creating the energy and the steam it needs to give you everything that you're looking for as the end result, right? But sometimes when you're not positioned in a space to receive it immediately, a lot of things have to change and become obsolete, undone, and discarded in your life. And so the process of that can seem very, very daunting for a lot of people, right? So another reason that I think that being a master manifestor has some dangerous spots is that it can show you the not pretty and fun things really quickly when you start getting really, really good at it, because you're going to go through process quickly. And a part of that process won't be beautiful. And a lot of times that can trick us into thinking, like, what am I doing, right? Another reason is that a lot of times I see this, when you become a really good master manifester, you're just like, oh, look what it's done to my life. Look at the quality and enjoyment that it's created in my space. And then you have a friend, or you have a partner, or you have a soulmate, to some degree, and you have your children, or you have your parents. A lot of master manifestors attempt to manifest in the lives of others. So they attempt to create this beautiful lifestyle for other people through their personal manifestation. And the biggest problem with that, okay, it's not the charity. It's not doing this positive work and trying to create a better lifestyle for someone. One of the biggest problems in that is believing that you know exactly what another person needs at any given time. You only have the outside view. You don't have the internal work that's being done. You don't have any idea of what's going on there. So when we attempt to manifest in other people's lives, a lot of times it turns out to be very negative. I remember a friend of mine, she was dating a guy, but they weren't really serious. They weren't even intimate, but he was a friend and he wanted to date her. And he was very good to her, treated her well, brought her out, took her to dinners, and all these wonderful things, all of the things that women always go on about that they want. And she was just like, well, he's always going to be a friend. So there was a friend of hers who was having a lot of down luck when it comes to attracting very decent men in her life. She didn't have a positive outcome. Every man that she dated was somehow using her, or somehow treating her poorly, or sometimes even being emotionally or physically abusive to her. So my friend thought it was because she was such a good manifester at bringing these positive and beautiful men into her space, even if they weren't the mate for her, that she would take her manifestation of this beautiful friendship that she formed with this one man who was treating her really well and attempt to give it to her friend. So she did it. She set up them on a date. She told him that, I like you as a friend, but we're never going to be more than this. I have a beautiful friend that I want to introduce you to. And she was beautiful by all standards, what most people would all consider to be beautiful, right? And, so they started dating. What happened was this person, this man that she'd known, who had this beautiful and wonderful personality, very generous and loving, became a total nightmare for her friend. And the reason why is because you can't take your manifesting power, because it's so strong and it's so beautiful and it works so well in your life. You can't take it and use it in the lives of someone else. She had an energetic field around her that was attracting a certain type of man, a certain type of energy, and a certain type of reaction. So even this person who was perfectly beautiful and wonderful in my friend's life, with her friend who, when she tried to hook them up, he was terrible. It was like night and day. He was an awful mate. He treated her poorly. He ghosted her at one time and then came back. They eventually wound up having a child together. He wouldn't take care of the kid, wouldn't pay child support. It was just a long, long story. And she always said, I felt like I introduced something so negative into her space, which I thought would be a beautiful manifestation for her, because she says that's what she's been looking for. But we all know what we say and what we are always two different things. So what you say you want does not always line up with who you feel you are and what you think you deserve on the inside, right? You may be getting there, but a lot of times it does not match. So you get the same circumstance, no matter if you keep replacing the people, it's going to be the same outcome. So with master manifestors, you have to be very careful with trying to manifest in other people's lives, because you're so good at it. And you're just like, oh, if I can make this happen for me, I can make it happen for someone else. Kind of, sort of, maybe, depends on where they are. But I would say mind your own manifestations. Life is better that way. It's easier that way, right? Another thing that I noticed with master manifestors is that they're so good at manifesting, and sometimes your manifestations slow down, right? You're just like, oh, I was getting this. I had this job offer. I had this contract. I had this guy trying to date me. I had, this money coming in. I, got my dream car. Then all of a sudden, like all the things I want to manifest kind of just slowed down to a screeching halt. A lot of times what master manifestors do in that moment is they try to look at any little bit of crumbs, because they're so used to getting what they want. They take any little bit of crumbs of something that they see, just a little piece of it, and they try to force it into being the manifestation, because they want so much that manifestation show up right when they're expecting to see it, like all the manifestations in the past, right? I've seen this and I've done it, right? With guys I was dating. Like I knew that I was in a good space. I knew that I had positive attitude about life. I knew that I believed I deserved a certain type of mate. And when I got someone who most closely resembled that, I was like, girl, you got the car, you got the home, you got the career, you got a relationship with your family and your daughters, and everything is working out so well. You got the income coming in. And so when this guy popped up, I'm like, yeah, he's like 80% of the way. And sometimes it's not in the master manifestor's willpower to look at something that's so closely related to what they want and not try to force it, because they're so used to getting what they want. So that's when you have to start using your intuition. That's when you have to start slowing down. When your manifestations slow down, it may be a sign for you to just slow down. And you really have to do some introspection, because whenever you get to the point where you feel like you have to force anything, you know that you are using your manifestation power in a dangerous way. You're so used to it working out exactly as you see it, that you're willing to take crumbs sometimes and try to push them all together and make them into like a whole cake, right? And it's really just not it. And one of my favorites, and I guess the last but not least reasons why I feel like being a master manifestor can be dangerous too, is that a lot of people become lazy in the process, right? So you're good at manifesting. You create things, you create environment, you create the perfect household, the perfect peacefulness in your space, the perfect relationships for you, not for everybody, but for you. You know, really good income. You can shop as you please when you feel like it. You can travel as you please when you feel like it. You have, you know, your remote working space. You've achieved all you want to do in the career, or academia, or whatever it is you're working on. And you've gotten to a space where, wow, you're just like, man, when I really fought to get things done, well, that was on one extreme end. It did not work out for me, right? And so, you know, like when I finally relaxed, everything started working out for me. So sometimes we can take this as a cue to keep relaxing and then relaxing and then relaxing some more. And there's nothing wrong with feeling relaxed towards your manifestations, because I feel like that is the only way that they actually show up in our space. But there's another thing when you are not putting towards any inspired action, if you're not putting any inspired action towards a specific goal. So you have this idea like, I really want to write a book, right? I really want to write a book. I want to write a book about my life. I want to tell about these lessons that I learned. I want to talk about my relationships. I want to talk about my valleys and my peaks. I want to bring people through my first business venture, and when that was doing well and then it collapsed, I want to bring people through my family relationships, and then I want to show them how all these things shaped me into being able to inspire them and create a life for them. Well, I've written that book, but what I mean is, people always say this to me, especially if you're a person that's written a bunch of books. I've written a bunch of books. So people will come up to me a lot of times and say, oh, I want to write a book. I want to write a book. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And I would go through all this trouble with helping them figure things out. And I felt like a lot of times, because they had so many things that played out with so much ease in their lives, and most recently, that they were thinking that a book writes itself, you know, or this career that they're trying to plan. They're thinking that applying for the position is going to happen on its own. Now, sometimes people recruit you and you get people to come look for you. That happens too. But you have to be in a space where preparation meets opportunity. And that's when your magic happens, right? So my thought is, when you're manifesting or looking for manifestations, always be in a position of preparation, right? You may not even need what you're preparing for, but to me, that's actually like a belief that you feel it is possible. So like if you're thinking, I want this dream vehicle, right? I know my vehicle, I want it for a very long time. I've had it for like 4 years now. So now I just enjoy the fact that I thought it was something that was so far off in the distance. I have no desire for a new vehicle. And I just love the idea that this manifested in my life. And I didn't even have to like be rich at the time to have it, right? And so when I think about that, I remember some of preparing for it was creating a small savings account where I was putting money in for like a down payment. Of course, I wanted it to show up with a big giant bow on it and drop out of the sky from the universe. But I didn't want to bank on the idea that that is the way that it was supposed to play out. I wanted to know that, okay, I'm working on manifesting this idea, and even me saving this money and its money being available is a manifestation in and of itself. So my action of putting down payment money in the bank regularly, when the opportunity showed up, I didn't even need all of the money that I had. I only needed like a fraction of what I had put in my savings account. And I truly believe that because I was dedicated to the manifestation and I knew that I was a master manifester, the idea that I should not be lazy in my efforts to bring it into my space meant that it was going to show up for me and I was going to be ready when opportunity came. So you can't get lazy because some things just pop up without any effort. I don't believe in over-efforting. I don't believe in forcing. I don't believe in working yourself to a pulp in order to get some specific results. Everybody I know that worked that hard, that ran themselves ragged, they enjoy some level of success, but at the end of the day, they're not as peaceful and content with their results and how they have to keep creating those results as they appear to be, right? Some of my results have come over a long period of time. Some of them were slow coming, but I can honestly say the outcome is with such ease and effortlessness that I can easily get caught up in the whole lazy thing. Well, let's just see what happens. Sometimes that works, and then other times you really have to think about what subtle and soft and easy and flowing inspired action can I put towards that manifestation today, right? So that's all I have to say about how being a master manifester can be a dangerous tool sometimes. There's several areas that you want to always pay attention to when you become really good at manifesting, so that you won't fall, you won't fall through those, you won't have those pitfalls. And cool thing about pitfalls is that, you can always climb out of them, even if you do not manifest in a way, or you manifest incorrectly, as some people say, or you're not focused on what you would like to see your outcomes would like to be. There's always a way to course correct, as long as you're still breathing, as long as you're still here, as long as you're still smiling, as long as you're getting up every morning and you have this moment. You always have this moment. Okay. So anyway, that is what I have today to share with you. Don't forget to check out my books. I put the links below. And also don't forget to check out my other videos on manifesting. And I hope you manifest everything that you are desiring. And I also hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful day.